Meku with the full wide berth on the rotate, trying to get as far back as he can. There is still a play to be made, though, inside of the blue. If you could assist Mela, you could still put pressure on Meku and force him to give up the aggression on this one. He was just looking for a read, and the information play does still stay alive with his hands firmly on the wheel, so he's happy to at least be breathing on this one. Alter Ego are relatively close as well, with even a slight push there, just looking for a read themselves, so assessing what exactly was going on ahead of them. Meanwhile, Melise looking to try and make their move over the bridge at some point here, with the zone pushing further in, looking to try and make their move in a relatively good spot for Evo here, with the zone pushing further in, looking to try and make their move in a relatively good spot for Evo, sending the vehicle in with Kishu just driving his way through straight away.
有趣的知识，夏天开空调怎么凉快又省电？首先千万不要一开一关，这样是最费电的。你只需要按照这个设置，制冷温度26度，风速开到2档，最后选择节能模式，让空调往上吹，你就会发现不仅省电还舒服。
versus Procedure Evos, and Mela once again shows us he can do it just as easily in the mid game as he can in the late game. So a really heads up play there coming through from Mela. I don't know how that just occurred, but with the DBS, that guy is absolutely kingly, and I think that's going to bring Gladiators back down to earth once again. Maybe one or two more good games for them to see them feeling a little bit safer into the lobby at the end of the day. 59 points, it's pretty decent, and with the amount of teams that are currently down towards 18, 17 points total. There's a chance for this team. There's still a chance, but that does not look promising. For FaZe, on the other hand, they've had some pretty cool standouts today. Not always been able to get all their players towards that end game, but, you know, at least some eliminations every single time. They're already up to 30 points on their first day. It's good to see.
It is nice for them. Big game. Even if they go out now, you've still been able to achieve a lot in terms of the elims and the other chicken dinners they've taken. More to be done for FaZe as well, of course, as you know, this isn't the end of their run. They'll still have tomorrow to come back out swinging up against Group Yellow and see what they can do there. Fight continues on now, though, with Frozen being really close in terms of the positioning. You were thinking maybe there was chance for the fight there. We'll join that again, though, once things kick off. For now, you've got the rotate on screens, and Melise still trying to make their move. Trapped under the bridge here, as CEO later wants them to pay the toll. He is trying to defend this, it seems. DBS in hands, close quarters engagement up against the SMG, just peppered instantly, overwhelmed there, and crumbles because of it. So the remaining members of Melise are expired, and Inco could potentially third party from there. Had a read on the hill, but don't aggress down.
Yeah, for Inco, it's a little bit of a difficult scenario for them, but they're able to hold on to it. Not bad at all. DXAV continue on. I think this has been one of the more consistent teams from our lobby so far. Inco moving over towards NASA, over towards Spec at the moment. A little bit of a difficult position to be playing in. Doesn't really have the support of his teammates, but a nice first initial spray down. Everyone's just trying to get the DBSs on the roof, but he doesn't care. The Vector will do the trick.
Oh, he cuts his way through the first. Looking to re-aggress here as well. Bullets going down, detonations inside of the building. Xenox looking for the wide swing, close up through the window, spots another Inco man, but he's been punished from the side himself. Down on the floor now. Spec as well, eats the nade. Perfect bounce on that. Beautiful use of the angle as it ricochets off of the wall and takes the man down. Both of them playing medic, looking to get the reses in and reset on the fight. Doors wide open, head taken clean off as Squash, he goes out of the situation. Star comes sprinting in, and this fight keeps on going.
Mate, there's no point did it occur to Spec to just use the first aid kit in his inventory at all. Like, what was he doing jumping down with 10 HP? Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And with that, Nenabetse might be able to finish up a lot of these players coming through from NASA. A total misplay, in my opinion, from what was an incredible opening fight there from Spec himself. If Nenabetse is able to clutch this out, it's basically all down to the fact that you just don't use the utility that's on side. There was more than enough time and chance to use it. Just the aggression there was a little bit silly, in my opinion. opinion. Reject still pushing onwards, currently up to 34 points, 37 if you add the eliminations on. And I think, you know what, they've had a decent day today. They've been really trying to hit those numbers where they can. They understand that time is wearing thin for them too.
And the gap between DX is closing as well. Similar sort of story for Rejects, it seems, as they go for the swoop in and look to command respect here in the compound clash. Sarah, the bicep man, hits the first as Link goes down. Lufa again aggresses onto Misery, and one by one, Evos are becoming extinct as they are falling out of the server quite quickly. Luxy, though, wants to try and save face. Nades thrown in. Nice tag on at the first. Has the DBS as well. He could clean out the building here, Blank, if he can find his way in. Nice nade to at least defend. Smoke canisters go up as well. Blocks the pathing and the eye line, but could be exposed to Coops and Co from the back. So Rejects have taken command of the gas station for now.
That was definitely a deluxe grenade if I've ever seen one. Nade over the top from Regiosio. Bounces, actually just airburst a bit too early there for him. Looks to send another one over the top. Has a general idea of where he is. Great nade from Regiosio. Will finish it off, and Pazija Evos goes down. Now remember, this is the position where Pazija Evos won the game from last match. And I think for Reject, they understand that. They're like, look, we'll take it off your hands, no problem. Quick push in, picks up a lot of eliminations off the back of some really nice shots with the DBS. And that's confidence we wanted to see from Reject a lot earlier on. For You Do Alliance, it's starting to get a bit better for them each and every single game. You know, their averages aren't looking too bad at all. Currently 5 points per game. Yes, it's not championship level of averages, but for some other teams who really have not done that at all, I would say this is a promising start for You Do Alliance.
They've not been looking too bad in some of the fights they've been able to find themselves in today. We've seen some smart decision making, even at least keeping games going when they're low in terms of stock, low in terms of manpower. So You Do Alliance, pretty good job of at least being a thorn in the side of some other teams. What can they get done here, though? In potentially a position where, you know, there is a chance you could chalk this one up as a W, as a chicken dinner, if you play your cards correctly. Frozen, still just trying to keep his attention drawn in the direction of Reject Tokyo. Rejects that are now getting themselves situated inside of the vehicles, driving seats at the ready, and start to set their focus on the new zone. Everyone's going to want to move their way further forward now. You Do Alliance with a good spread of it as well. They'll have nice control to work off of. Meanwhile, MBE, Sec on the snipe with a Mini 14, firing off the warning shots, makes his presence known, but no actual connection. And he has given an inkling across the UDU as well of his position now.
Yeah, Cluck here off in the distance. You Do Alliance currently at those 5 eliminations found so far on this map. Could you go even a little bit further? Talking about before, Sec on that Mini 14, hitting some nice shots. Nedabete in the meantime takes his chances on the rotate while everyone is a little bit distracted. Will be able to get himself to fairly defensible position as well over on this side. MBE Sports off in the distance, very, very close to him. You Do Alliance is trying to take him down, but it is Olio to spot that one out. Once again, we see You Do Alliance in this situation where they potentially can take the chicken dinner on this game. They came second on that last match. So far, some very nice little averages on our angle. Reject will send in over towards Coops, last player remaining. Good initial grenade, but just overwhelming force here from Reject.
They just swoop in like an aggressive seagull at the boardwalk, just wanting to steal away their set of chips. And they take that one down instantly. You Do Alliance, they've got a good spread for it, good setup in terms of the positioning to maybe get a few shots off here on Reject Tokyo. And they're the ones that want to gun for the longevity on this. Both squads with 4 players alive. For Mapples, it is just Frozen. And keep in mind, Frozen's team, they were picked off by Rejects quite some time ago. He was hoping to get revenge, but he'll find nothing for his troubles as You Do connect onto him and they dispatch the Bulls. Seeing red now as we fall to our final 3 squads. Hey, look at the damage being inflicted here as well, Blank. Softening them up now. Confidence is there. This this could be where they start to rev their engines for the dive.
Yeah, looking to move in towards it. And I like this spread coming through from U2 Alliance. So aggressive. The distance, though, Sara is able to pick up one from MB Esports. They have to immediately get on that res there if they want to get something done off the back of it. They might just send in over towards MB Esports as well, claim a little bit more space. Cluck also getting involved, realizing that MB Esports looks a little bit weakened off the back of that one. Olio with this position on top of the rooftops is so unbelievably strong, though. Jackie gives them so much advantage coming into the future. Reject were able to get a little bit further around, but more and more shots keep pouring over their way. MB Esports with Mondo up front with one nade left remaining, but fully kitted out here with the MG3.
Quick looting, quick reset, shuffling. Everyone waiting for the right strike, the right moment to stick themselves into the action. The aggression works well for the first connection. Bullets downrange onto MBE, at least quelling their numbers for now, forcing one of the players into a knock and leaving them with a decision to make. No real quick move to get Modo back up, so you're probably going to have to give up the goose on him, fragmenting their numbers even more. And this setup from U2 is still looking so powerful. Every time there's a peak, they have the geometry to defend themselves whilst dealing damage. They've got set up so if there is contact, someone else can help out as well. They could play for trades pretty efficiently from this, and all they've got to do is hold. Everyone else sitting on the edge of the rim as well, not wanting to push in yet. The zone will be the only part that could potentially throw a spanner in the works for them. But with how they're playing it at the minute, Blank, this is looking great for Alliance.
Yeah, pretty much this was one of the circles that Reject likely was hoping for as well, because Olio on this spot had to be pushed out of it before stage 8. Realistically, this is a very early way to end a game in stage 7, having 3 teams at stage 6. Almost unheard of. This game was extremely quick in terms of play. For Reject, though, they know they need to get further into the circle. They need to regroup Regiosio as well as Sara, but this circle does assist them. Getting Olio off from that rooftop gives them a much more even chance here, much more even footing. The fact that he's able to take pot shots downwards provides so much information all the time towards the rest of his teammates is causing so much problems. He's finally off it now, and Reject might be starting to think about when they want to move off towards the rest of their squad.
Lufa hearing the sniper shots whizzing by him. Ooh, it looked like his days were numbered, but the team defends as they assist their mate. A few pot shots back over. That's Reginosio, who's just taking the peek from behind the tree, hoping that he can, if not deal damage, at least start to dent the confidence. So U2 Alliance can't peek into this so easily. They've still got such a good setup though, and this could be absolutely fantastic. They thought they had the lineup with a nade. No real response to it though. Not actually turning onto this one. They just leave themselves laying there in the open. Can't really retaliate too easily, and they're just being farmed, Blank. The nades go in again for the easy cleanup, and they're taken out of commission. Wiped off the face of the battleground there, leaving it into the final fight then.
Yeah, 3v4 now. And I think for U2 Alliance, honestly, when you're in that situation and you are MB Esports, you just have to hope that he only has 2 grenades and you can withstand 2. Unfortunately for them, Olio had been sent forward with a blinding 7 in the back pocket. The circle moves over towards the north side, and Reject's going to have to play a very, very tough game. They've got no more smokes remaining either, so getting up will require them to get at least a knock. Lufa's not able to make it happen. Now just 2 players left alive versus U2's 4, and they're going to send in on the approach. Is this going to be their downfall, or will this be where they win? Olio continues to send in some massive nades. He's been so important this entire game. The nade goes off, Reject will go out, and U2 Alliance, despite only getting the second that last game, Olio not going in for the 1v1 definitely makes up for things here on this Erangel.
You do take those wins, Blank, as they're pulling off another one. Coming out swinging here. You're going to be happy with that. You're going to be in a position now where things are looking a lot better already. They were a team that today looked like they were kind of nipping at heels and at least keeping themselves in a good position. Now it actually seems comparable to think, you know, if they could maintain this, Blank, for their day 2 tomorrow as well, alongside potentially the next 2 games we have coming up, then Alliance are actually in a much better position than it felt like potentially they were going to be coming into this. They're looking good in the survival stage right now, taking to it quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's a really nice jump up from them as well off the back of that game. I mean, Olio, again, 1,088 damage done, only 84 damage received. I think their setup on that was very nice as well. Or towards that northern side, they had, I think it was Iftar or maybe Flax, who was up close, just holding out MB Esports that entire time. I think they had really good control over both Reject and MB Esports, not allowing either of those teams any breathing room whatsoever. And that came with an aggressive hold, right? You know, they had to have the big split going there in the end game. But yeah, really impressive from UDO Alliance. And I think Olio will be certainly pleased because sort of gave himself up a chicken dinner last game, even though he didn't know it. This time around, definitely secures that chicken dinner. In the meantime, secure your seatbelts because we're heading back over to the desk.
Alright, seatbelts are secured here. I don't know what sound that was, but we are back with UDO Alliance. Get themselves a big victory, honestly, and a pretty needed victory. We have to keep in mind that during this entire day, this is technically the easiest group for Group Red to go up against, considering the point discrepancy we heard from Max at the start of the day between yellow and green. So they need to collect every single point they possibly can, and Olio this time kind of redeemed himself, as we heard the caster say from our prior match, Max.
Yeah, really happy with UDO Alliance getting himself that split. Of course, the circle not ending towards that kind of gas station location, so forcing teams like Reject to leave it. And when you have that four-man split, pretty much, Jason, there's not much you can really do, and you're just very predictable behind that pylon. You just, the moment you try and peek your head around the corner, you're going to get completely wrecked. So 24 points on this one for UDO Alliance. Great match, and also over 1,000 damage, Kalaris. That's really cool.
Yeah. Wow! There you go. That's the sound for that one.
Thank you.
Even though we've not really properly seen it. Yeah, they were laughing together after that victory because they were like, we've seen this circle before, and we got to adapt from the previous game whilst doing it. I mean, they were holding strong up in the north, right? Like, they controlled so much room with this to be able to then head south that I think they actually really did, no joke, take learnings from the previous game and apply them here.
I mean, they dropped Northern Stolber, right? No one is going to be on this game, in this lobby, stopping that kind of rotation. No one is in between their drop location and the spot where their game ends, so it's not going to be happening in 1,000 years. And yeah, Olio, sure he was able to confirm that game earlier on match number 3, but here he's able to just survive with his team and get things done. So happy about that one, though. If I want to take the conversation another way, Kalaris, is Reject knew how strong this time around the Procedure Evo's gas station actually was. Like, how about we crash it just like 5 minutes earlier in this match and maybe win the game? Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, and they hit it with severity as well, right? Like, they absolutely barreled into that position and really gave Procedure no time to be able to react to said attack here. So for Reject, I love the decisive nature of that. I love just the very, very small window you're giving your opponents to be able to react to an assault oncoming here from the Japanese team.
Real quick, as we see in 21st place Quest, they have only 2 matches left to go before they're done in the entire survival stage. If they want to have any sort of chance, they have to come up big in these last 2 games. Otherwise, that's going to be one of our teams confirmed going to be out. But Enigma Galaxy, man, Max, 24th place. They have not been able to get anything going so far.
I think that Jackie and Blank were talking about it also during the games, and I did come up to that like kind of conclusion myself also, is that they're just struggling to get cars, and because of that, you're very vulnerable to teams that are going to be on your path to the circle, and that's just been happening so many times for Enigma Galaxy, losing Coops, losing Lord, losing Freak, and then you just don't have the players to really compete for that possible win. So yeah, they got to get more cars. Really, it's as easy as that right now. I know I'm making it seem very easy, but if they get 2, 3 cars, 4 cars if possible, you're instantly taking way smaller risks while you're trying to get to a good POI in these circles.
I do want to give a special shout out to two different players that we haven't really touched on just yet. Spec from Nasser coming in massive on top of that building when we saw Inko crash on top of him. Somehow with the Vector, he was able to just hold on. But then Nenebechi on the other side, able to close things out and save his team. Well, save himself at least, and get the wipe onto Nasser. That was just a really cool little battle between those 2 individual players.
Yeah, some good knocks from Nebechi to kind of finish things off. And again, cooking grenades to be able to just throw them at the exact right time to really cause a lot of problems for his opponents here as he's trying.
Nenebechi was doing something that was very interesting, is he was faking nades also during this entire match. He was just like taking the pin out and actually just doing the audio cue, and that was kind of scaring the opposite side to go for the res, and because of that he was able to just make them linger as a solo and then win the fight. So it's very small details like that, but Nenebechi as an individual, we also saw it last year in PMGC, right, has the chops to be one of the best players in this lobby, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's great to see him as well come back into his own when we first saw him come into the scene back in B4 over like 2-3 years ago when I was actually working on that a little more consistently. But guys, we are going to be heading to a short break shortly. But before then, going to remind you guys once again about the Infinix GT10 Pro. You guys can pick this up. It's a board for professional esports players, and you guys can dominate the lobby while doing so. Not to mention, you can play a new Frost Festival now out in PUBG Mobile. You guys can get into this frosty adventure, pick it up and play, and potentially create some snowmen yourself. We also do have the popular annual gala kicking off between the November 15th over till December 15th, where you guys can play in 10 1v1 matches, potentially get some exclusive rewards that you can show off for yourself. And while you're showing those off, you can show off your new Pagani as well with the Zonda R model coming consistently. Emola, you guys can run over your enemies, and hopefully, for Nibby Galaxy's sake, they can pick some of these up and survive and stay alive and get into the later stages where they can potentially use their victory dance and show off that they are their own favorite team in PMGC. We're going to head to a short break while we get things ready to go for our first of 2 matches on Miramar, and we'll see you all in just a short few.
Так. Что я не домой еду, не домой. Нормально. Евгений, приветствую. Ром, напомни, пожалуйста. Ладно. Если не камера. Ой, это не обязательно. Так. Леш, спасибо за маночку, спасибо огромное, спасибо. Спасибо за касточки, спасибо.
And we are moving into Miramar, 2 of them back-to-back to be precise, to finish off the second day of the survival stage. And Blank, it has been a bit of a journey we've already been on, mate. The Eren girls, the initial Sandhawk as well, all of them have had a bit of a different flavour. I wonder what's going to be sort of, you know, the taste left in our mouths after these Miramar games.
Yeah, well, I mean, man, I don't know. It might be a sour taste, might be a bitter taste for some of these teams, might be a very sweet and delicious taste for some of these teams towards that top side, feeling very comfortable, feeling very safe. For you do Alliance, that is a really comfortable game. On that last one, I think that Max and Clive mentioned it. Look, it was just the same circle from before, and they have a very easy and very nice little crossing down towards that position. And they essentially just played it how they would have wanted to play it that last time around. So really, really well done to both of them. And I think for, honestly, Reject, they'll be happy with a third place on that one, a second place on that one, get some good points on the board overall, which they desperately needed, right? And I think that consistently today, Reject's been doing pretty well. And I think tomorrow we'll see some of those teams from Group Red try and hit some higher numbers as well on that chase. Again, today we will be setting that benchmark, at least for some of those teams with Group Green leaving us. And I think that's the most important thing for a lot of these squads to be taking a look at the end of the day, is where that 16th place lies. Currently, it is with Malise Esports at 25 points.
Okay then. What are things going to be looking like in terms of the points after this first Miramar? What drastic changes are we going to be seeing? All big questions that will have a large influence on the overall standings. But we'll find out as we kick it off. The plane has taken off and we're flying over Miramar. If you take a look out of your left window, you'll see water treatment. If you take a look out of your right window, you'll see power grid. Please keep your arms and legs inside of the plane at all times. Now I'll pass you over to your captain, Blank.
It is me, and also disregard that last comment about keeping your legs and arms in the plane at all times. At some point, we are going to be tossing you out because you're going to have to get into this match, gain yourself a couple of these points at the moment, because this is not a safe run from us. It's going to be quick, dirty, and it's going to be fierce going into this Miramar. This is our first of 2 before Group Green will end their run here in the survival stage and see just how many points that they have been able to put up and get in. Currently, Quest is one of the teams very much in danger at this point in time. Currently played 10 matches with a measly 17 points, currently in 21st place. It is going to take a gargantuan effort from them in these last 2 matches, and quite honestly, I just don't think it's possible, and this might be one of our first teams to be confirmed gone over in that bottom 8 of the lobby for the survival stage. They will not be making it through to last chance unless something absolutely insane can happen here on these last 2 Miramars, which I just don't think is going to happen.
It would have to be miraculous. Not quite sure if it'll be going that way. We did have Maxman coming in with the hot drop breakdown as well. He gave us a quick lay of the land of the potential positions and clashes that we could be seeing. DX versus MBEs was one of them in El Pozo, and then the other potential that doesn't seem like it's happened was FaZe versus Evos as well. Max has been taking a look over the VODs. So he had basically came to the description blank that we might be seeing those as the common drop spots. At least this time, it seems like some of the teams have got their heads screwed on and haven't wanted to run the risk of a hot drop this late into the day of competition, especially with some of them actually having a good day of it as well. Like for Evos, right? Running the risk of that, not going to be ideal. Not the best playing path for it either as well. So that's why we've avoided that one. But honestly, probably for the best, mate. These hot drops are getting a little bit too warm, Blank. It's like being in a sauna, but you don't really want to be in there. You thought it was an ice room.
Yeah, it's currently 1 a.m. The janitor locked the door. You're stuck in there. They've turned off the lights. It's a horrible experience overall. You're sweating. You're not sure what's going to happen. You're just going to have to wait it out and move out of the old sauna in the morning looking a little bit mummified. But in the meantime, we'll keep you guys nice and cozy at least. And we'll be there with the keys in the morning around about 7 a.m. because I don't wake up too early. But looking at this plane, obviously it wasn't too great for either of those hot drops on this side of things. Difficult to get down towards Chumacera anyway, so a lot of teams had to go for something just a little bit different on the cards here. We do have MBE spot up towards El Pozo. In the meantime, Gladiators playing towards their preferred drop spot in La Cobreria. They have been trying to switch things up just a little bit recently, moving further down towards this south side outside Hacienda del Patron. Certainly have done their homework though. Not really a possibility here versus Nassar, who are over towards water treatment in the first place. So that would cause them to be running into another team fairly early on. And I think for Gladiators, who haven't put up any points since that first game, since that second game, sorry, currently on 59. I think they'd want to push this just a little bit higher in these final 2 matches. I think 80 points is a pretty happy finishing point for any team within this lobby, currently with Mad Bulls at 89 points total. Also, not the most amazing day for them, but they have put up some good points, right? I think yesterday just sort of overshadows the consistency that we're seeing today from them.
It's been an interesting day for it as well, mate. I think it's made it so hard to really truly assess the situation. I don't even know by the end of the day, Blank, if we'll have the best lay of the land of how things are going to look by the end of survival stage. Because any sort of the theory we came into it with initially, with, you know, kind of the idea of Group Green being the real big group of death that it was, that had so many top teams in it, translating into survival stage, felt like it kind of wasn't an accurate depiction. One, then now we're seeing some of them bubbling up towards the top. We're seeing the good test of some of the other teams now in the lobby for today as well. I think really by the end of tomorrow, you know, as silly as it is to say, is when we're actually going to truly understand just how tight this was, because it's been hard to call the whole way through. We've seen the standings definitely getting shaken the longer it has gone on. It's been a lot of impressive maneuvers from Brazil as a region as well throughout the course of the entirety of the tournament. Here at the minute, Inco being so representative of Brazil inside of this lobby, haven't had the best day of it. Of course, they had to fight tooth and nail, similar story to Quest, to barely make it here in the first place. I think the more surprising one as well is, you know, as we go deeper down towards the bottom, I'm kind of expecting a bit more from maybe your Ducksans, maybe your Mega Galaxies as well. There could have been a little bit more to be done. We've got one of them fighting here though, as they are going aggro, broken wall combat, as they look to try and swoop on in. Bullets from behind the camper van can't quite close the gap. Switch to the secondary. That one will kneecap. Fights through the body as well. Backed up by his teammates, and the pressure is on now.
Yeah, FS taking a huge amount of damage there on Hyper and Duxan, like he said, yeah, really aren't giving up anything whatsoever. They're looking for more. FS will go down, and again, Zifan just has to send away as fast as possible. Hyper's really not been having a good tournament here at all in the survival stage, really struggling on every single drop at the start of the game. First couple of minutes just a bit hellish for them. Zifan almost spinning out there on the vehicle as Vinny continues to pepper those shots across, gets a nice headshot, and Hoxie will finish off with one of his own. And Hyper out with some beautiful gun skill coming through from Hoxie at the end there. And Duxan picks themselves up a juicy 4 points. Again, you were right, Duxan needs to do a little bit more at the bottom of the tables. That's a great start from them here on Miramar, and see them a little bit safer coming into the survival stage. Alter Ego, look, we didn't want to talk about the start today, but you know what? 41 points. It's not too bad, honestly. It's not too bad. They have certainly struggled, but they're struggling against the tide here. Trying to get back to the safety of the beaches so they can sit up in those armchairs and just wait for this one comfortably to end without worrying about maybe being pushed out from that top 16. Obviously, only 2 more games to go, though, for Alter Ego. These are some really important matches for them as well, because by no means is 41 points safe at all.
Feels like nothing's a safe threshold anymore, man. It doesn't matter how much of a buffer you've got, Blank. I'd still be a bit scared. You never want to leave it up to someone else, right? So just trying to keep that consistent growth of points always going. Such a hard task, but something that needs to be done relatively consistently, game in, game out right now. You can see already with the posturing, a lot of these teams earlier on today, even yesterday especially, when there kind of wasn't a level playing field, there wasn't a point where you could see one team pulling ahead, they probably would have gone for a few more of these fights. At the minute, it's a bit more sheepish. Teams sort of fighting to warn off other squads. A lot of defensive gameplay at the minute, kind of turtling, trying to gain control of your lay of the land and force other teams to feel uncomfortable, rather than swooping in, kind of playing that very aggressive, you know, guerrilla strong together mentality of just trying to overwhelm opposition by roaming as a pack, which was working earlier today on Miramar in this sort of situation. Might not be the best call. One wrong fight could be the difference of you basically leaving yourself with no chances to get points today. For Group Green, that would mean no chances remaining over the course of the survival stage as well. So big pressure, big momentum shift needs to happen. Zone shift, though, is going to cause a bit of a cascade. Everyone wanted to get themselves into the center circle as quick as possible, but look at Mad Bulls, miles away, taking a slow turn on things, wanting to just take their time with a rotate on this.
Yeah, slowing it down massively, and that's fair enough for the Mad Bulls. I think they want to just confirm some more consistent placements here in these final couple of games. They know that they've done a lot already in the lobby to see themselves pretty safe here. Like you said, it's very hard to say what is safe, honestly, at this point in time, because there could be a massive jump up from all 16 teams tomorrow in both Group Yellow and Group Red, but we'll see what happens. For Mad Bulls, I would say that they've done really, really well for both their region as well as themselves, getting themselves fairly decently confirmed towards that last chance. There is still more to be done in those 2 days following, but at least they get a break in between. For some of these other squads at the moment, there is some serious pressure on them. But Miramar, obviously one of those matches where you really want to keep all 4 players alive towards that end game, and a lot of teams are looking to pick up some central positions early on. Reject still following that same mentality of picking up that central spot at the beginning of the game. They've done a great job to do it down towards the south side already. This will see them in a good position to pick up some more of those points. Yes, they're not picking up those big chicken dinners, but they are very much definitely in that top 3 a lot of the time now. So, you know, I think they are another team that just felt the pressure from yesterday, weren't able to play comfortably, a little bit fidgety in their seats, but this time they are definitely playing much more how we saw in that Group Green, where they looked like a formidable team, let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely a facelift that I think both of us are pretty happy to witness here. Looking a lot more like themselves. Interesting game so far.
А мы пока вообще ничего не наряжали.
Few fights just to get the backs up of other opponents.
Осталось.
A lot of control of the map here being fought.
Не буду говорить, кот наплакал, потом автоматики, потому что сейчас котик на мотороле.
Now though, there's Tixie and Co.
Слушайте,
start
правда,
to
Волков
scout
остался, это о чем мы тогда потом
fan
говорить
themselves
будем?
around and look for the information on the rotate with the vehicles. Levi's really hoping for a heavy hit on this. He's got the bullets for it. Man's got 200 rounds in the back pocket, so he's willing to just fire off a few warning shots and keep looking for damage. Here's the overall lay of the land, though, the way things are looking with the map. It's alter ego that are barely coming up towards the entry point here as well. That would be U2 Alliance that have to fight through if they head into the zone. And they've got, again, another nice spread. U2 Alliance, I have enjoyed the way they've been playing Blank in terms of relying on each other as duos. Feels like they have a lot of faith in their setups where they'll play off each other's contacts. And they're probably going to be tested by Melise as well with this. So this actually might be an opportunity to see if their combat skill is looking as drilled as it has been over the course of the day.
Yeah, for U2 Alliance, I think they've had some really strong like edge play style where they'll play off one another, and I think that they're cautious enough to actually go for that play style as well, where they won't push out the boat too far a lot of times, which is something that's very rare to see in these edge style teams. I think sometimes it's all or nothing for some of these squads, but these esports certainly have been plagued by that curse a few times so far already. But it's been pleasing to see U2 Alliance being able to really show a masterclass of how to do this one in the survival stage. For some of these teams that are towards that northern side, moving through Mountain Away, but a little bit open area down towards Chumacera at the moment. Also a bit of a horrid position to play. I think Nick McGann is quite happy over towards the north side of Chumacera right now with relative safety, being able to have a good outlook over towards some of these players that are down towards the northern edge of the low ground at the moment. Reject still just holding on to this central position though, and I think for them, again, it's just nice to see them play much more like usual. FaZe, I want to see another big game out of this team actually. They're quite central as well, currently challenging Reject out for their spot, and I think Mela's really proven his worth on this squad, but I don't want to see as much scrappy like we're going to get 7 eliminations on this match and go down in 7th place. I'd like to see a much higher placing with a much more confident finish here.
Visualize that roadmap, that end goal early. Have a good understanding of the way you want to play it, the way you want it to finish before you get there. Frozen throwing out bullets here, down range. You've got great high ground, great understanding of where everyone is. Frozen, he's been drawn into a fair few fights today that he's looked so confident in. Seeing Frozen playing with confidence is really fun to watch because you know he's a bit of a one-man army. You know that he can take these fights and single-handedly win them pretty confidently when he is playing his best. And the fact that he's instigating a lot of these, looking to just try and pick up elims where possible off the skin of his own back, and his team's giving him the extra range to do so, bodes well. Makes me think they're all feeling pretty confident individually. That might have been an air of overconfidence though. Gladiators on a scouting mission have been skewed. Duxan have engaged onto them, found the first knock. Matic has to get haphazard with the automatic because he sprays back some bullets. Yeah, tag sure, but not actually finding any frags out of it. Driving and healing, that's illegal, but he will pull it off and get himself back in the zone. So Hoxie being able to maintain good movement here as well and get ahead of Gladiators. This has worked out pretty well from the rotate, unless they get mowed down. Meku on the hillside Blank. They thought their bad days were over. They thought it was safe to go back into the water, but Meku is there.
Yeah, Meku's been having some really good off angles this tournament so far, and being able to pick up some of these eliminations despite losing one player will be really nice for the points totals. They desperately need them on board at this point in time, so I think Meku will be fairly happy with this one. Being finished off a couple more as well. Hoxie and Zipian go down, so 3 eliminations for their troubles losing Tixie. It's decent, but you can see DXavier off in the distance there, down towards their south side. They'll be continuing to cause them problems in towards the future. And it's Alter Ego take the fight to Mad Bulls, who just have had a bit of a struggle so far.
How far is this struggle going to go, though? Will this be struggle street for them? Or is it just a struggle bus that potentially they can hop off at the next stop? If you go for the getaway mission, seems like retreat is better right now. So they try and back away. Oh, look at this. Matic getting an understanding of where exactly Quest is situated. Quest in a vehicle graveyard at the minute. Just smoke and burn tires all around them. And now they're getting smoked a bit more literally as Levi's lurking on the hillside hits them with a big surprise. Kante's gone down. This is not looking good for Quest. They jump in the minivan, trying to go full Scooby-Doo and get out of there, see if they can find some clues about where they can stay alive, Blank. But their days are numbered, surely.
Yeah, I think for Quest, they bit off a little bit more than they could chew in that situation. They took shots over towards Gladiators as well. They were able to finish off one of them at least, but it's opened them now up to this fire coming through from DX also. And looking at the lay of the land where they have to move uphill here, it's going to be really tough to deal with. Mad Bulls managed to get away with that one. Yes, they took a fair bit of damage. 2 players still left alive though down towards the south side of the map, but it's Reject once again able to pick themselves a nice central spot towards this circle, flanked by FaZe on the side, but definitely a good chance in this game. But it's nice to see Alter Ego as well actually taking it to task with currently the top squad in the lobby, which is Mad Bulls.
Definitely seeing a shift in the power rankings here in terms of the way the teams are looking. Definitely feeling like there's a lot more confidence to fight, bringing down some of the walls that were put up on the back-to-back Erangels. Different stories here. Miramar always delivers something a little bit different. Grenade-based combat seems to be the play here. It's like a game of badminton, as those nades will go flying. Lamborghini wants to make this one look like a shuttlecock, sends it out as it will whiz on by and be miles off target. Wind must have caught that one.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to blame the wind at the end of the day in that situation. Junie, though, can't really escape the bullets that come whizzing at him. I mean, those have got a pretty direct trajectory on those bad boys. Quest attempts to try and get involved to maybe open themselves up a little bit of an avenue of approach versus DX whilst they were slightly distracted by the final player coming through from Ducksam. More shots coming through from Nigma Galaxy, though. Over towards Alter Ego, off in the distance. Currently taking a 2-2 split. Also holding out MBE Sports as well as Nigma Galaxy. But I imagine at this point in time, Otka as well as Rosemary want to regroup with Fnatic and Alva over on this western side. If they can get out of there, that is.
Can they even stay alive and keep themselves in a position to fight? Inko here, ooh, hefty connection with the nades. I mean, you're still standing, you're still alive and in the fight, barely. As Squash, he must have taken a ton of damage from the shrapnel on that. Melisto, so heavily focused on the team in front of them, don't realize they're being backstabbed as You Do Alliance come in, swing the scythe, and take Melise out of the equation. Quick heal in the vehicle, quick reset, and then set their focus on getting out of here. They don't like the chances of the engagement versus Inko. They're happy with the points that they stole from that one, and instead focus on calming it down, going off to a better position and playing the longevity on this one. Love to see that from the You Do Alliance. Actually really starting to play some great PUBG Mobile over the course of the day, Blank. It's felt like the longer we've seen them going, the more they've looked confident, the more they've warmed up into the day, and it really feels like they're hitting a bit of a stride now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great read from You Do Alliance as well, because they sense that that fight is very, very clean. Yeah, they were able to pick up the eliminations off the back of it and steal some away, but they know that Inko is fully ready and up for a fight. So they decide, you know what, let's not even take it. We have a strong position down towards this southeast side, which we can continue to manage. So we'll just leave this alone. We'll pick up those steals and play off the back of this one. Iftar comes up against Nigma Galaxy. There is a switch out from the side, and he has to be quick on the trigger here to try and take him down. Does a huge amount of damage, but takes a lot himself.
Damage dealer. Ooh, not ideal on the getaway, though. Last minute connection sweeps the legs out from underneath him as he'll tumble down the hillside. AE versus DX as well as Alter Ego thrown into a fight they probably don't want to be involved in. Inko might have got away from the jaws of defeat previously, but they've run into the big beasts of Evos, armed with some rather large guns as well. And they're closing in. Ooh, a late reaction, but a reaction that will be reverberated through Inko nonetheless, as they get shocked by the LMG, drop down to their last legs, only one man surviving, but the vital signs are good for him. He's at least being able to inflict some damage back onto Evos, and he might have bought just enough time to close the gap. It's a large rotate for him, low on HP as well, has to play the numbers game, stops for the heal. Spec is there, armed with a nade. Everyone's on top of one of another now, Blank, so any moves you make, any chance you reveal yourself, it's about 3 different squads that could engage off of the contact.
Yeah, it's really grim terrain at this point in time where you're just pushing through team after team and the line of sights just aren't there, so you're almost always going to be running into a different squad that you might not have scouted out earlier, which is why the Udo Alliance are just trying to take control of this valley as much as possible, where they have a lot of the info to themselves to play off the back of. Procedure Evos likely to go down shortly. Misery just able to back off away from that grenade as it explodes up in his face. Luxie drops behind, but it's a tall task ahead of them to deal with the remaining members here from Udo Alliance.
You do alliance, well we do damage is what they're saying as they're pulling no punches. The shotgun cleaves its way through them as the first shots will land dead on target. Misery, he's got a big old gun and he's been slick with it so far. 60 bullets remaining in the magazine, only needs 5 to deal with the first man. Nade over the back, tries to reposition, but too little too late as his compound gets detonated and he's down and out. Star wants to ascend to the heavens on this one though. Nade in through the window. That's a Molotov burning off the angle and making it far harder for Udo to control this compound. He's got the smoke in as well, but it's actually just opened the back door for Spec. He's found the engagement, got a few pots chopped off, and kind of fragmented this setup now from Udo. If Star keeps aggressing on this, Blank, there's room for the actual elims to go his way. He could definitely third party on this cleanly right now.
Yeah, it's a potential chance for them as well. FaZe are also looking down this way in the meantime, see if they can get a quick sniff of this one, but it is Star and Spec looking to finish out this fight, and I love the fact they went into this with the 2 players. Cluck is there though on the side with the shoddy, and now just 1 player remains in Spec, who has a lot to account for here.
Spec, what can he do, man? How far can he take this? He's all around them. They're starting to look down the hill. And finally, they will spot the head as Flax will slay him. And they are out of the runnings. Losing an awful lot of our teams now as we're whittling our way through them quite quickly down towards stage 6. Not too many left. And a smaller circle to contain everyone as well. So more fights in a more frequent manner going to start developing here on this one. Reject Tokyo set up inside of a compound though, sitting pretty at least. Haven't really had to fight too many big battles inside of this one. They have 3 eliminations to their name so far, and they're just waiting for a battle to come to them. The current clash though is focused on Quest. I say Quest, it was just easy, and now he's gone.
Yeah, I think for Quest now, we can pretty much say that they're done and dusted. It's not likely they'll be getting into this last chance. So I think that was our last bit adieu to that team. I think they've done very well to get here, but that's probably good night to them at this point in time. Enigma Galaxy trying to get further into this match have had a bit of a struggle day over the last 5 matches, but this one looks a little bit better with 4 players still left alive. You know, 4 eliminations as well. This is a good start, at least something. And this is probably one of the most even and scary lobbies to finish a game off. We've got 3 teams, 4 teams. How many teams are 5 teams with 4 players left alive? It is going to be all-out warfare as we move into stage 7. This is going to really tighten up, and teams will be forced to fight one another. FaZe has got a really, really big task ahead of them as well, because it's going to be a lot of different teams that they're currently having to manage. Everyone understands how strong this high ground currently is, and FaZe doesn't want to give it up. I think they would have hoped that more teams would have gone down at this point in time. But again, this was a match where they had a nice central position. It's one where I wanted to see more of their players make it to the end game and get a big chunky win off the back of it, but by no means is this an easy test at all. We've brought out the hard papers for this one.
Big point score, but an awful lot of risk taking is what's going to be coming up in the next couple moments then. No easy ones, no freebies this late in the survival stage. It only gets harder. There's only more pressure on you. And we'll see how well our teams can deal with that as well, because that's the human element of it. PUBG Mobile here in such a big tournament, the most prestigious of the year with PMGC, you really start to feel the reverberations in every play you make. A single mistake is the difference between your legacy in PUBG Mobile. So what have they got for us? Edging further forward. Lufa on the flank towards the backside. Closing in on FaZe. You get the Alliance POV here. They push up towards the center camp, looking for control of the shed, trying to gain some high ground to play with. Ooh, nades right on target. The Molotov burning brightly. They're trapped behind the rock. Flax is already down. Quick peek from the second. Ventores should be able to close his way through them. Wants to get vicious. An assault here, looking to punish. Parajin, meanwhile, sees the rotation from NBE and detonates their wheels. So they're not getting anywhere quickly.
Yeah, for MBE, this is a really important game for themselves, alongside with Nigma Galaxy, who lose Ralph off the bat there, as U2 Alliance are dealing both with FaZe and Nigma Galaxy at the same time, but they are dwindling now. Forces really losing at an alarming rate. Flax comes over the top side with the DBS, finds at least one, but he just has to spray the DBS, doesn't have enough time to pull out his M4 there, but it will be Nigma Galaxy staying alive there with the 3 players, but 9 eliminations for U2 Alliance. They'll be pretty pleased with that one, but going down in 6th place will not give them that many placement points, and that's the difficulty at this stage in the game with so many teams still remaining in. In the meantime, Reject are pushing in so quickly over towards this position, swiftly taking control. They haven't lost any players as of yet, and Lufa's on the top floor will drop back down again towards the garage side as they slowly pick apart the guys from FaZe.
Reject. They want to gain control of this compound. They want to take it for themselves, deal with the inhabitants that are there currently. And right now, Lufa strikes on the first, cleans the man up, taking them out of commission and keeping the pressure on FaZe. FaZe that are starting to rebuild, reset, getting the res off so they can play together. Attention focus on the man outside, but it's the people in the building that you need to be worried about. Drop down connection. Lufa tried to go for a hell of a play, but he's been slain. Mela replying back with a shotty as well. Good for 2 blank. Could have made that uncomfortable.
Mate, Mela has been an absolute firecracker of a player so far. Some unbelievable plays coming through. You know, as soon as he starts tapping that trigger at the speed at which he does and starts quick flicking towards these players, it could be a 1v3 no matter the situation. But luckily for Reject, they get out of there with 3 players left alive. Not an ideal scenario, but pretty good all things considered. NBE taking a lot of damage to Nigma Galaxy, 2 teams that really do not want to go out early here. In the meantime, Reject looking to stamp their ticket through to the last chance stage. What a nade over the top there. Luckily, Sarah just about lives it, knows he has to move away. Duello's down, 1 player remaining now for Reject.
This is all crumbling. It's all falling to pieces quite quickly. The dream for the Japanese side that they'd be able to revitalize themselves in the last 2 games of the day, be able to show up when it matters most, is quickly falling away from them. But maybe a window of opportunity, timing and attention taking off of them as you've got DX roaming in, putting the pressure on the aggravating squad that has been fighting from the top of the hill, giving Rejects at least a moment to breathe. But it's just Sarah. It's just one man with a big set of guns inside and outside of the lobby as he starts to scuttle his way around the shelf, looking for a peek up onto DX. Meanwhile, Freak aggresses downhill, puts the shots into MBEs and keeps the pressure on them, blank. Sek as well taking damage. MBEs are going to expire quite quickly if this keeps up, and we're getting closer and closer to deciding who takes the chicken dinner here on Miramar.
Huge chicken dinner required here for Nigma Galaxy to keep themselves in the running going forward, and Freak finds the last player coming through from MBE and Akaze. Coombs looks down towards Sarah, drops a Molotov, will reposition him, and Lamborghini would have spotted him if it wasn't for Lord, who makes it up towards 12 eliminations. DX, the only thing standing between them and a 25-point game now. Only 1 nade, 1 Molotov, a whole bunch of utility on the side of DX, and it would be a miracle run now for Nigma Galaxy to finish this one out with the chicken dinner in tow.
Now, don't forget DX's nades. They are so damn good, and this is why. They've got so many of them to use. Their comms for the timing on double nades is normally pretty picture perfect, and right now they are blowing Lord to pieces with it. You've got a nice knockoff onto Freak, looking to aggress the close on the damage done to Lord already. The shotgun's pulled out. Coops, he goes down for keeps, as that one's going to be DX snatching away the chicken dinner and securing themselves the opening win here on Miramar.
I mean, DXavier has been a team that we've not talked about too often, but they have just been really good today. Honestly, the amount of times we see them in the top 5 is sort of flabbergasting, honestly. I've been really impressed with this team, and that's coming from a guy that didn't really enjoy their playstyle back in the day about a year ago, and I think that quite comfortably I can say this is a very strong team, if not one of the strongest teams, that has a great chance to get towards the PMGC Grand Finals after this. I mean, some of their control has been marvelous, and like you said, those nades are just picture perfect.
Man, one of the things that always seems to ring true with DX is exactly that, just how well they use their utility blank. They're never really caught off guard in a position where, you know, they're low ammunition. It always feels like they're so stocked on rounds, so stocked on utility that they need, and they use it smartly. It's not a matter of, you know, we get to the final circle, all of a sudden they throw all their smoke saying, we've got to use our nades. They use them calculated, they use them efficiently. Offensive utility is used to open up fights or close down fights. They're not just thrown carelessly into the wind. We get the stats highlight here as well off the back of the chicken dinner for DX, and fair play to him. You know, I completely agree with you. I think that's a deserved win, and one of those where it shows that DX do have a lot of talent. We're seeing more of it now, especially as the day's gone on. Blank, it feels like they're looking more like themselves.
Yeah, it's a strong like 3.6k damage game on that one, and everyone's doing fairly similar damage across the board from DXavier, so no one's really slacking, no one's really dragging their feet either. I think for DXavier, it's just been wonderful to watch them during this entire tournament.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. It's been fun to see the level of lethality that they have been pulling out. That was an explosive game of Miramar, though. So whilst me and Blank clean up the dust with our little dustpans, let's head back over to a nice clean desk with Jason Kaplan.
Well, you have to get that dustpan from me because I've been using it here on the desk to keep it squeaky clean, as DXavier keeping that match squeaky clean themselves, getting themselves even further up in the leaderboards. And obviously we can talk a lot about DXavier here, but the fact is they're a team that's already now solidified into the last chance qualifier kickoff in just 2 days of time. I think our focus is maybe more towards a team like Enigma Galaxy, Maxman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they needed to get himself a big game here, Jason, if they wanted to push themselves up into a top 16 position, which this game is exactly what they did. Because, guess what? They did not lose a player in the first 2 minutes of this match, so instantly that's going to increase your odds of being able to get a good game on board. And I think, Kalaris, when you're looking at this game, we have positions like what FaZe were doing, maybe a little bit too split, making himself very vulnerable to Enigma Galaxy to then take what I think was possibly a game-winning position. So Enigma Galaxy saw an opportunity, saw a weakness in their armor, and struck right where they needed to.
Yeah, FaZe really was not warm in this game at all. You might have had the circle come your way, you might have had a decent position, but you needed to regroup earlier. You needed to be taking decisions a bit more speedy with that regrouping, and that never occurred. So other teams around it exploited them, like as you said, Enigma Galaxy. But DXavier shows in this lobby that you don't always have to be playing center. They could play edge, they can be able to sweep it. I don't think they've been the most flashy team across these 2 days of gameplay, but they've certainly secured themselves a spot in that last chance qualifier, and as Blank says, they have a great shot at getting to the finals.
Yeah, DXavier clearly are a team that now look at that first place. They just overtook Mad Balls and Influence Rage throughout today. So really strong performance from these guys. And one thing that stands out to me for DXavier is they are really good at reading the circle, in my opinion. They know how teams drop. They know how teams rotate and respond to specific circles, specific scenarios. And off the back of that, they can get the path of least resistance in every one of these situations where they can reach the late game, and if they have a good situation later on down the line, they can gun for those wins, as we just witnessed here on this Miramar. So sure, as you said, Kalaris, not flashy, sure, but they are getting consistent points to be able to compete for that first place.
Well, then let me throw this your way, Kalaris. DXavier in first place. Are they a first place team?
Out of all of this, no, because in Influence Range is the first place team. They've played 6 games, and all of the teams around them have played 11, and they're still in 3rd place. So I'm going to stick with the Brazilians for now, Jason.
Well, that's the point I'm getting at, is that DXavier, yes, they're currently sitting in 1st place, albeit having 5 more matches than Influence Rage. But the fact is, for me, this isn't a team that's going to be a CCT. This isn't a team right now that's going to win the Global Championship Grand Finals in Turkey. And the question is, what do they need to do to improve to potentially take home that trophy, or what can they do to take home the trophy?
Kind of what I was saying before about them not being the flashiest of teams. Sometimes when you want to be a CCT, you got to be a bit flashy, right? You got to go out and get those 15, 16, 17, 18 limb chicken dinners. And right now, I mean, this has been so far their biggest game when it comes to across these 2 days, but their previous victory, 6 limbs, right? Like, they know how to, as Max said, get to those circles, but they're not, you know, bombastic. They're not just blasting everything out of control. They're just, you know, easing in.
Paragen is clearly, for me, the top frag of the team. He's been doing really good for himself, getting strong angles for the team. I just think when you put the entirety of DXavier in a 4v4 against other squads, I would see other squads possibly come out on top more consistently than the DXavier would, right? For example, I think Mad Bulls have really good fragging power in their team. I think Influence Rage, especially, I mean, when they're going to start coming in, I think they're going to be competing for that 1st place. So I think that would be the aspect of the gameplay where they could improve on, which is tough to do on such a small amount of time. But when it comes to macro and the overall rotational game plan, it's hard to beat right now. I would say they have some of the best in the lobby when it comes to reaching these late game situations.
Okay, well, obviously we talked, a little bit about the top of the table, but the bottom of the table is something I'm kind of worried about. We've already I talked about Quest, who have 1 match left, currently sitting in 22nd place. But Melise, they're in 19th place with 11 matches done. If Melise want to have any sort of chance of holding on into tomorrow, they have to have an explosive final match here, but honestly, I'm not really seeing it. And then I'm even looking further up the leaderboard. The next, Ultra Ego, 10th place, 43 points. I'm not quite confident 43 points is going to be enough to keep you out of the bottom 8. But we'll see and find out as we're going to be heading to the final match here for Group Green. So we'll send it back to our casters of Jackie and Blake.
Oh man, one last game to decide it all for today then, Blank. And we'll know how things are looking before the last day of the survival stage. It's been a great day of it, and I'm hoping that the last Miramar will deliver, because that one was already quite tasty.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. I mean, having that many teams in one of our final circles is just not something you see very often at all. So I'm excited to see what they can do over in this match. I think there's a lot of teams here who are really just fighting for their tournament lives, right? And I think that's one thing that is very evident from a lot of the playstyle. You can see Reject get themselves hyped up once again because they have done fairly well, right? 59 points over 11 matches with the start they had as well, Jackie. I think that that's a fairly admirable result because I think today they've really brought it back to favor. Prestige Evos as well. Loving to see the performance coming through from these guys. I worried that they just didn't have the elimination power, but currently they're at 32, just 1 point behind Reject. I think that they're doing well for themselves. And it's just been overall a great day to watch some PUBG Mobile. U2 Alliance, in fact, even really doing very well in terms of the numbers. I think they have a very good grasp on the game, and at least they're planning, right? And I think this feels like a team that's going to go into tomorrow hitting the same kind of numbers, because we did have this big trend of some teams that didn't do so well in their day one in Group Green who suddenly have turned it on for day 2 after making some quick adjustments on the fly, and some teams who just really gave it their all in day 1 and have succeeded because of it. I think you have to take those chances sometimes, and U2 Alliance has certainly done that.
I think U2 Alliance have done a great job of it, yeah, man. Like, for coming out looking like potentially they were struggling a little bit into the first game, not quite being as lethal. The longer the day's gone on, the better it's looked, and just going from strength to strength, even potential, for the clutch that we've been bringing up a few times, where if maybe there was a little bit more self-confidence into just instantly going for the aggression off the back of the team fight with the other 2 teams, there could have been a timeline where you get another chicken dinner from that as well. But they weren't worried about the past. They weren't dwelling on the ifs and buts. They played some great games following that, and it's led us to this position where they're in a pretty damn good spot, and the lobby standings are getting shaken up an awful lot. Puts us in a good position. Let's have a look at what we're dealing with then as we go into the last Miramar.
killer playing path, to be honest with you, down towards the south side for our final match for Group Green today. I think that this is not going to be one that a lot of teams are very happy about at all. For the Gladiators, who really did have their big step up towards the start of the day, they haven't done too much after that point. It doesn't set themselves up very nicely, and now they're forced to move away from La Cobardilla. Luckily, they're quite used to playing down towards the south side of Los Leones, so should be able to work with this one just a little bit, but this does put so many teams close together in the very early stages of the game, so I'm imagining we are going to see maybe one or two teams take quite the heavy hit early on here, Jackie.
Yeah, surely there's got to be some early commotion kicking off here.
Just locking everyone in down towards that south side as well, mate. That is cruel.
Yeah, this is... Ooh, I don't know, man. This is not the sort of circle you'd be too happy with if you'd whipped your protractor out for that one. Okay, so yeah, I think the point being there, definitely a lot of room for carnage on this one. Quite a different game already in terms of the opening moments, at least, with the way that it's shaping up. The posturing from the teams is going to result in, like you're saying, people being on top of each other quite early. So a lot of room for infighting, a lot of room for teams to lose out in a battle of attrition quite early on this one.
Yeah, N-Hyper desperately need to get some points on the board as well, because they keep coming into contact with teams early on in the game. A spray down from Star could be bad, but we've got the Rocky Rage Roaders over here who managed to get that party bus as high as I've ever seen it in the air. That's some serious airtime they got on that bad boy. Very cool cinematic moment to start off our game of the day. But yeah, I think the difficulty with this circle is that, you know, because we're locking so many teams down towards Los Leones on this south side, and the circle, the playing path being so far down towards the south as well, teams are concerned with getting into Los Leones early. Just in case this does end up being an urban finish, you want to be one of the first teams to get towards that central arena. You want to be able to hold out those central buildings too, so teams aren't as willing to go far out towards that north side because they know they're going to have to come back down again fairly shortly on the next circle. It's tough. It's going to make it so we have less loot in the pool overall, less grenades, less utility to use, more rotations, honestly just trash looting overall. So I'm scared for a lot of these teams, and teams that desperately need points at the end of the day. This is not the circle or playing path that they wanted to see.
No, yeah, definitely definitely not probably on the wish list for a lot of our teams today for the final game, right? This was, I guess if there's the bingo card, this was the one-off you were hoping you wouldn't hit, but it's come up and it's what we're dealing with, so we'll see what we get out of it and what plays are made. Having a look as well for some of our teams down towards the bottom end of things, just thinking about what we've seen from them today. Honestly, I think now with the way that it's kind of shaping up and how it's been established over the course of the day, it does feel a lot more representative of what we've seen. Melise really haven't had the greatest day of it, down in 19th place there, probably sealing the fact that you really haven't accumulated more than enough points that you'd need over the 2 play days for them. Inco as well, always room to get a little bit further up. You'd hope to see the Brazilian side get a bit of a move on. Here they're just taking damage, not what you want if you're a fan of the region, but I'm sure Influence Rage will be doing more than enough to fly the flag once they come back into rotation tomorrow.
And honestly, Influence Rage just had such a significant day yesterday, which with the way they were playing, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. Fully on board with Kalaris there, saying that, you know, that is the first place team, and I don't really think there's anyone else that's going to take away that first place spot away from them, considering, you know, DXavier, Mad Balls, 90 points, 93 points at the end of the day, last day for them to accumulate points as well, with Influence Rage being, what was it, I think 77 points into their points total overall. They're not far behind of what is 2 days of play occurring in just 1 day for Influence Rage. Enigma Galaxy, that was a really, really good result from that last match. And it was a strong performance as well, with a lot of eliminations found for themselves, despite that they're still in 16th place with 28 points. So even with a big game like that one, Enigma Galaxy's still got to toil away at these points totals and get the pickaxe out and start hitting these amazing veins full of elimination points and placement points total, because their job's not done yet. And although that was a strong game for them, it's one of the only strong games we've seen from them today. But again, I think for a lot of teams, they're in real difficulty hours for themselves. And again, all we can do is just watch how this map plays out, how these teams make their maneuvers, what players want to do with this one. Are they going to send this as hard as they can? Or are they going to try go for something a little bit more consistent? Certain teams don't have that luxurious choice. Malise Esports, they've just got to really take it to the max level. They've got to pull out the bandana, tie it around the back of the forehead, and go full Rambo in this game.
Giving it to the maximum is kind of the only opportunity you really have. I think playing timid, playing your cards close to your chest this late, when you know how bad it's gone with the overall point score, you've got to take a different approach. You've got to kind of turn up the ante a little bit, get a bit more aggressive, take more risks that potentially you otherwise wouldn't go for, and play for those picks, play for eliminations, because there's room for it. I mean, if you're talking about Influence Rage as well, those 77 points, keep in mind, they only had the one chicken dinner over the course of that entire time, right? The rest of it was all elims. It was all just big games where they were constantly padding stats, constantly finding more and more opportunities to play off the back of the gun skill and build themselves a point score because of that. That's what you need to do. And we've seen prospects like that from a few of our teams today. Gladiators have looked a lot more lethal. They've looked like they're willing to take fights. Mad Bulls have been roaming a lot more. They had some big point scoring games in terms of their elims today, comboed with the free wins that we've seen over the course of the whole affair. But definitely a lot more room for Carnage, I think, at this point. Playing safe is going to win you no fans this late.
Sometimes you need that support from the backline as well, honestly, to really rev yourself up into these matches. For Gladiators, I'd agree with you. They look a lot more lethal coming into these matches, and I think the big thing, the big change at least for them, is this much faster gameplay, much faster rotational style, which does lead them to be making a fair few more mistakes, but it also leads to more variance in terms of getting those big matches. Before, they didn't really have a hope in hell of getting more than like 4 eliminations or maybe 1 or 2 placement points, which they realized is just not enough. And I think this year has been a year for them of just trying to perfect this new playstyle of heading center, getting these faster rotations working, and we saw it do fairly decently over in their region in particular. But they admitted themselves that it's a new playstyle for them. It's one that they're not super comfortable with just yet. Next year, likely, it's going to have a much bigger benefit for them. But they know they need to bring that playstyle out here in the final day of their group green in the survival stage to ensure they're able to get as many points as possible. They realize that they don't want to leave this up to chance like they did last year and just get pushed out in those final moments. Circle does move over towards that eastern side. Mad Bull's fairly happy with this one as they're holding over towards Puerto Paraíso. Quest moved up towards that northwest side in Los Leones as opposed to holding on that eastern coast. You can kind of respect the decision, but it has sort of shunted them out of play.
That's been synonymous with their brand over the course of the day as well, which has been unfortunate. It feels that they haven't really had too many opportunities to play the game out to the best of their abilities. Always very unlucky in some of the positioning. You're seeing the movement, the repositioning coming in from Reject Tokyo as they start to set their focus on a further forward position. Regiocio taking a lot of damage. Engine smoking. His back's going to be up. Scared about what's going on around him, but they are still alive for now. Engine's now starting to burn as the jump at the vehicle saved by the car, as that will actually pluck Gladiators out of the air. Perfect timing on that. If it was calculated, that is magnificent, as they've been able to turn the tide on this fight. Gladiators look like they had the drop onto them and should have been able to take out OCO quite cleanly. Instead, they body block it and find the frags, fragmenting Gladiators down to just a 2, and they're quite far back. The trades on this aren't going to be easy, and Sara's already on the res.
Yeah, it's sort of a ridiculously aggressive play coming through from Gladiators as well, jumping out the window there with more vehicles in pursuit. A 4v2 on the outside, you're likely just to get shut down, and an instant beautiful DBS shot takes down Matic in the the process. In that situation, you just want to just hold in the building, right? Pull out the nades, try and get something done alongside with that, and then wait for the cover coming through from Kitsune and Tixi. You playing a 2-2 split, right? But you're playing it as if you're all four in that one building. So I really did not enjoy that play whatsoever from the Gladiators, and they deserve to have those two players get taken down in that process. So a bit of a split mentality in the team there. Now just 2 left alive. We know Gladiators do go for these quite frequent salvage games, but remember, 62 points. That still feels a little bit iffy at this stage of the game for the survival stage. I think, you know, for them, it's all about trying to get as many eliminations extra as possible now, as many extra placement points, because after this, they're done.
And that's the point we need to hammer home as well, you know, for the viewers at home, just so you understand the real influence of it. You won't have any more opportunities because, of course, you know, with 3 groups being mixed into the lobbies here, each of them getting exactly 2 days of play, you only have those 2 days. That's it. And your days are now expiring. This is the last game. So any points you find for yourselves here, sure, that's all said and done. But then you factor in the point we brought up on the desk, we brought up again here as well. Influence Rage already nearly have more points than our top teams after playing double the amount of games. And that is a terrifying position to be left in. If there's another squad that steps up massively as well, who knows how the final standings could be looking and which teams will progress when all is said and done. Lot riding on this. It's why this last game of Miramar needs to have some major moments in it. If you want points, you gotta get them now. So Gladiators, even down to just the duo, need to have a good game of it. Need to try and squeeze as much as they can get from this one, Blank.
Your sort of saving grace in this is that you just hope that Influence Rage can suck up so many points towards that top side of the lobby that 16th place bubble doesn't move that much, right? But with Mad Bulls not playing in, with DXavier not playing in, currently the 2 heavy hitters so far in this lobby as well, you know, I don't know how much that points vacuum is going to do for you. We will wait and see for tomorrow, but right now there's teams that need to get a move on. Alter Ego, 43 points. Not safe at all here with only 1 player down, 3 players up. Also not another ideal scenario. Procedure Evos need to push this a little bit further too. Reject want more points on board. Currently though, their more consistent play style of trying to get towards that center arena, play off the back of that one, does seem to be working despite the horrid day they had yesterday.
And resilience there being the key part. Being able to have that mental fortitude of bouncing back and keeping your focus on, even if you are a little bit upset with what went down or what you left up to history. It always shows just how far you can go in these sort of events. MBE's here towards the ridge side, a little bit paranoid. You can see turning all around them, suspicious about where the fight is going to be coming from. It's DX down towards the coastline with support in the trees as well. Levi's from the side strikes, and that's perfect. They had baited the attention of the first man. Oh, with all their focus down the ridge on Lamborghini, Levi's just ruins them. 2 back-to-back 6 shots, and he's just chock-a-block full of confidence now. They want to go in blank. Parajin's hot behind the wheel as well, so he's going to be coming in to assist. They're swooping in. This should be a clean-up on them. They outnumber them 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great play from DX overall, and you can see the quick flick decision in the sense of Levi sees that he's got 2 eliminations. I'm making the call now to push, but I'm going immediately. The rest of the team instantaneously responds, and this is just the communication you can tell going through from DXavier. Very difficult to talk about communication a lot of times, but easy to see in this situation with a quick response coming through from the rest of the team of DXavier, and exactly why we consider them to be one of the best teams in this survival stage so far. Parajin luckily hits that first aid kit just after the nade pops. Will bring him back up towards 70%, and although they did get those first first two initial knocks here. Xavier's not sure whether pushing the issue here is worth it or just getting further in towards the circle. Reject taking a fight of their own alongside with Inko and Enigma Galaxy. They look incredibly low though here with Reject trying to hold on. Nice nade from Sara will finish off a lot of the boys from Inko, and now they are out down in 21st place. Their day of play is over until tomorrow. 21 points. It's not too bad.
It's not the end of the world. Could definitely have been worse for them. And like you said, they've still got another day to try and slay. Meanwhile, there is a battle raging on inside of this building. Control of the house team, 4-4. Link, close quarters engagement. Peppers the bullets around the corner. But just as we see the push in, Shotgun Superstar here for Voodoo Alliance. Jumps out the window, looking for the close quarters finish on that one. Knows that Misery's